Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence in these strange times. We're solving a little piece of revelation each week, and this one is chapter 6 and 16, specifically the sixth seal versus the sixth or the fourth bowl. And so both are solar activities. And what have I been watching lately? A lot of activity with the sun. I've been out in Stillwater, Minnesota, at the boom site the past 2 nights until 2 o'clock in the morning watching Aurora. And it's just been amazing. So we're going to contrast it and talk about the kill shot, when and where a micronova is a blast of the sun. And I'll cover that today. So we'll contrast these two activities occurring on the sun and try to inform you. So now, I'm contrasting this versus the rapture people who believe in the doctrine of imminence. That means no observable warning signs occur before the rapture. So the doctrine of imminence, according to Tommy Ice, implies the possibility of any moment signless coming by Christ at the rapture. The problem is, look around you right now. I cut and pasted these pictures around Mark's head, Mark Hitchcock, and he believes the same thing. I heard him in this video say the same thing. The end is near, but it's signless, and the sun has been burping out these flares and coronal mass ejections, and then NASA's been monitoring all these activities, and we believe that the magnetosphere is thinning, so it's producing aurora. He's saying those are not signs. Well, the problem is, according to Matthew 24 and also Luke 21, there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. Yeah, during these times. So either you believe that there are signs. I mean, we can't both be right. One of us is correct. So this is once again Mark Hitchcock quoting from Tommy Ice saying, signless. Or there's signs, and I'm going to give you the signs because this is what I've been monitoring the past few days and watching because I'm in northern Minnesota. So, well, not northern, but mid-level Minnesota. So I watched the auroras last night, and they were pretty good, but Friday night was the best. Right at about 9:05, the auroras just kicked off. They started green, and then they went more to the pinks, and it was just amazing. They are signs. I will try to explain those signs to you today, and we'll see. I'll go out again tonight. I'm kind of hooked on this, and it's fun. I'm technically preaching a gospel there, but it's more of a science gospel to people. I'm not trying to beat them over the head with the Bible. I'm trying to beat them over the head with, these are signs. These are biblical signs, and they admit it too. Sometimes they're better than the pastors. So what I'm telling you is that back in 1859, we had an experience on September 1st that was sketched and cataloged by Richard Carrington. It was the Carrington event, and he noticed an X80 explosion of the sun, a coronal mass ejection, and it blasted the telegraph lines back into the Stone Age. And fortunately, we were just coming out of the Stone Age, so everything was mechanical and not electrical, but we were getting close. And so if that happened today, we would be in the Stone Age, and you would see riots in the streets within 48 hours. Okay, so that's the Carrington event, and we had Aurora borealis down into Caribbean, Hawaii, and so we're seeing this frequently right now. So basically, what we're doing here is we're trying to give you the news that you're seeing, the observable signs. Then we're talking about prophecy. Then we're talking about the news. Okay, so and the Bible, of course, too. So the main thing is I follow Ben Davidson. I trust him. I respect him, what he's done. He's put in 12, 13 years of this, researching and describing what's going on. He really doesn't get paid much for his efforts, but he gets the YouTube views. The main thing, but he's up to 763,000 subscribers. So he's saying that we're having puny space weather lately, and it's driving huge storms. So normally you'd have an X3 or 4 or 8 or 10 that would drive these types of storms. No, we're getting X1s, and it's driving some big auroras. So he's saying, quote unquote, a bigger than biblical earth disaster is coming. And I agree with him. So there are more than just 7 signs of the end of times. I catalog at least 100. My predictions are we're going to have abundant low-level aurora borealis this weekend, which we've had, then followed by spontaneous electric storms next week, followed by increased earthquakes a few weeks afterwards. Why? Because of the sun. It's driving it, and our magnetosphere is thinning. So it's two components to this, okay? And we're going into solar maximum in 2025, in addition to the fact that our shields are probably down 30%. So Ben cataloged the first three storms, then there were three more storms, so they kicked out Wednesday of last week, and then again Thursday, and then Friday there was a big storm, but we don't know if it's coming here, so I'll go out tonight and see what happens, and we'll see, so 2 times we had triple impact. So I want you to be aware that that's like a 6 and then a 7th, and we'll see what happens. So I did the little cutout with Scooby-Doo, ruh-roh. I mean, that's a lot of activity happening. And so triple impact solar storm 2 days in a row, basically. Ben Davidson again. And so flares, and are they, is it a filament ejection? Is it another flare? Well, he's saying there's 3 of them. And so it's just interesting. There's your ruh-roh comment from Scooby-Doo. So once again, the magnetosphere, according to ESA and NASA, first NASA, they said by the year 2000, it looks like we've lost 10% since the 19th century, since 1859. And then ESA, European Space Agency, said but in the year 2010 that we've lost about 15% of its strength. That's a long time ago, people. It's 2024, and that means we believe it's down at least 25%, if not 30% down, and that means it's increasing, say, 1 to 2% per year in its weakening of our shield, okay, which is letting more things through, UV through. It's letting through possibly meteorites, but storms, so photons. It's like a proton bombardment coming through, and you'll just notice it. You'll feel more miserable, electrically speaking, and we're electric people. So our brains don't work well without salts and water and other things like that. So keep that in mind. It seems like this is occurring, and this is a citation from Ben, but I also went out to the actual website. But I wanted to cut and paste that and show you that. Okay, so where did I go? I went to the boom site where the pink arrow is way off to the left, okay? That's the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. Why did I go there? Well, because it's dark. There's no development there at all. So I went to Boomsite Park, the old logging camp on the St. Croix River near Stillwater. Literally no development nearby. It was dark. The aurora started immediately after dusk at about 9-ish, and were vibrant green, then pinkish, then reddish, then fuzzy, then vibrant, up to about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. The crowd was about 100 people. They were having fun. We were talking about it. They could tell I was the only geek there. Other people are geekish, but they don't have the information that I have. So I explained a few things, and I gathered a crowd. And they just kind of follow me around and talk and share information. We had a blast. It was great. I didn't share the gospel per se. I set them up that it's possibly biblical, and I allowed them to connect the dots and say it's biblical. So, and I explained the science behind the auroras and how this is a sign of other upcoming events, and then they connected the dots to this seems to be biblical. And yeah, I'm not signless Tommy Ice, obviously. So once again, Ben is saying we're going to have this index, this K index, that's going to kick up over the weekend, and it could kick up again tonight. We've still got some storms coming. So there were 3 initial CMEs, high M class and low X 1.1 class, blasted from the sun. We experienced a strong KP5 storm. Europe probably received the KP9, the big strong one. It just hit a little bit sooner and hit Europe at that point in time. Then there were 3 more moderate CMEs arriving sometime Saturday. And then if it's during the daytime, we don't get to see them. There could be another KP event 4 arriving tonight. It's possible. So I'll be back at the post. And Sunday could be a big day, but maybe not. There could be an X 5.9 arriving. That's going to be powerful. That would be the 7th storm of this week. Once again, 3 plus 3 equals 6, and then the 7th. So it's just interesting that it's 6, And then there will be a kill shot at some point in time, so we should probably talk about it. And there will be a prior event that I'll call the mohair Micronova. And we'll see if you like my commentary on the Greek. So everyone from, now this is Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17, where everyone from slaves to wealthy people, will run to the caves and the rocks. It doesn't matter when this will occur. People will know that God and the Lamb will cause the storm. So that means that the Bible is real, prophecy aligns with science, and therefore God and Yeshua are real. So Ben's been on other shows. He was on with David Whitehead, and he's saying expect a planetary playoff, then the cosmic Super Bowl, extreme weather, extreme shifts, ocean tsunamis, inundations, volcanoes, economic worries, job issues, no power at times, especially at the kill shot, mental health and heart electrical issues from 2026 to 2050. Well, we're entering that phase, and he's shortening this down a little bit. Okay, so upcoming signs: the micronova, the jet the jet streams changing and modifying, extreme storms, things like that. And auroras are a sign of that. And then more penetration, so more UV penetration into layers of the skin, which will cause more cancers and more issues. And then the auroras are just a sign of that. So sorry, Tommy Ice, sorry, Mark Hitchcock. These are actual biblical signs from Luke 21. So let's go in, let's dig into some verses here and discuss what I think I've noticed in the text itself. Then I watched as he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. That is a micronova unlocking the crust, and the mantle breaks free. The sun turned black. That's not an eclipse. That's the final stage of micronova, where the sun will go from yellow to white to red to black, then micronova. But it has to coincide with the full moon, that's Olo in the Greek, becoming blood red, and the next time would be Adar 14, which is March 14th of 2025. There will be 3 of them, and I'll try to argue why that seems to make sense for those things to coexist during that same time frame of 2025. The stars fell from heaven. That will be little tiny bits of dust coming off the sun, and it'll be a micronova dust production event, just as a fig tree, so they'll be small like figs, drops its bitter winter figs. So that would mean it should occur in the wintertime, and that would be more like March, which is still in the winter. When shaken by a strong wind, the sky receded like a scroll. I'll explain that in the next slide. Being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place. Revelation 6:12 through 14. So what you should see is the sun accumulating like a Swiffer, like a flash dust magnet. Okay, literally, it's galactic electrostatic absorption that will occur, and the sun wants to accumulate. The problem is during solar maximum it won't accumulate at a high level. It'll accumulate at a mohair angora level. That's why I call it that. Okay, and so you'll have a micronova, but you won't have this horrific kill shot one during the first one. Okay, and so Ben is citing the current sheet, global magnetic effects, electrodynamic changes, dust, gas, plasma, and that's what's coming through our universe right now, our solar system, and it's hitting all of the planets. It's going to hit our sun. This dust wants to cling to the sun. Fortunately, God has designed it so that it will not cling completely. Okay, and you can kind of see this this galactic current sheet down below, but this is Ben's citation of this. He seems to be on pace. He does not agree with me with 2 kill shots. He sees only 1 pretty much, and he says that it's happened before, and I think he relates the kill shot to when the poles shift. Okay, so the scroll rolled up. This is already occurring, Mark Hitchcock. Already occurring. And so basically that is a Megillah in the Hebrew text according to the Greek, and that means that it's going to be a smaller scroll. It'll be like the South Atlantic anomaly. Okay, and so these are the full Torah scrolls right here, which is all the way from Genesis to Deuteronomy. A Megillah would be like an Esther or a Ruth or something like that, so a smallish area. Okay, and so then what you'd need to do after that is be aware that then God will not allow the land or the sea or the trees to be harmed until God has sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. I heard how many were sealed: 144,000 from every tribe of the people of Israel. So there is a sealing effect that has to occur before we kick out these horrible trumpets afterwards. But only the people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads, Revelation 9:4, will be stung and hurt and in pain for 5 months. So there has to be this scroll situation going on, the Megillah rolling up like this opening in the South Atlantic anomaly. Okay? Then this is an overall picture of what's going on. Our magnetosphere is thinning. This is what's causing the Megillas to roll up. Okay, the scroll, the Earth's windows to roll up, as the Bible would state. Okay, and we seem to be going off a cliff, hockey sticking, through 2040, 2050. So at any point in time, we could have a kill shot, and I'm saying it could be 2030 to 2032, sometime during that time frame, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Okay, and so what I want to say is that Ben had thought that we had a 90% certain chance of the 2040s before this kill shot would occur. Now he's down to the 2030s and the 2040s, and he's kind of back and forth, okay? He's up to 30% because he's seen things take off, the hockey stick. And so the magnetic anomaly, Aurora records are showing us that something's drastically wrong, okay? It's drastically wrong. So, and this is based off 1859 as the starting point, and that we had the 2000 point where we had the 10% loss, 2010 15% loss, and now we believe it's up to a 30% loss and happening so fast. Okay, so we're watching the auroras lately, so you're having excited atomic oxygen at high altitudes, maybe 150 miles up. That's going to give you some pinks. Then you're going to see the greens at 150 miles up. Those are excited atomic oxygen at lower altitudes, okay? Then the ionized molecular nitrogen is even lower. That's up to about 60 miles up. So that's the pinks and the blues. I have not seen them yet, but maybe up north they have. And so typically you'll be able to judge if it's 150 miles up or 60 miles up. And the Bee Gees sing, "How Deep Is Your Love?" yeah, there you go. Green is the good ozone. Pink is the depleted ozone. Just be aware of that. And a weaker magnetic field is letting in more of those solar particles to deeper and deeper levels. So just get ready for it. It's going to go much deeper than this. Okay, continuing on in Revelation 6, then the earth's kings, the rulers, the generals, the rich and the mighty, indeed everyone, people, slave and free, hid himself in caves and among the rocks in the mountains. When I was at Stillwater last night, I purposely walked into a cave to see what it was like. And it was a rather wonderful cave, but it won't hold the city of Stillwater, that's for sure. But everybody will have to go to rocks and caves because the electromagnetic disturbance will be so horrific that you'll literally melt your brain and the fillings out of your head. So you'll have to go underground. You'll need 8 inches of dirt covering you so you can build your own lean-to in your backyard and be in there, and hopefully that would keep you alive, and move on to the next day. So they'll hide in the rocks and the mountains. Said to us, mountains of rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of the one sitting on the throne and from the fury, that's orge in the Greek, of the Lamb. This is proof that the rich and the poor will be aware of the 6th seal, and then they'll forget right afterwards, like they always did. Like 9/11, they forgot in 5 minutes. Okay, this and his fury, the day of his fury has come, and who can stand? Revelation 6:15. So then, once again, 1859 at 100%. 2000 at 90%, 2010 at 85%, 2020 at 75%. We're assuming now we're at 70% or below. That's why it's driving deeper through the electromagnetosphere and hitting closer to the Earth. Okay, so I'm expecting signs like this: a great earthquake at some point in time, solar mohair micronova, which is survivable, blood moon eclipse tied in with that micronova, meteorite showers, magnetosphere thinning, all will run to caves. It's survivable. These are cosmological disasters that will occur, and then it'll get really bad after that as we go into the trumpets. So we are in solar cycle 25. The 6th seal seems to need to occur as we're in solar maximum. It will push the dust off the sun as it wants to accumulate. It's a Swiffer, okay? So it's got that ability to, accumulate, but yet the maximum will force the dust off. So we would have a minor blow, that mohair blast. So Angora is fluffy and light, and John described it that way, and John is a Greek. Well, he's mostly a Hebrew speaker, but he spoke Greek, Koine, and he would know about Turkey. Turkey's right next door to Greece, and so he would know that's where the goats are, the mohair goats, and what that fabric would be like. So The sun, for the past 8 months, the sun has steadily increased, indicating we transitioned to solar cycle 25. This is old now, but solar cycle was 24 was kind of weak. 25 is really quite strong. And then we should hit the end of it in 2032. And that's interesting. That could be when our sixth, or rather the fourth bowl hits. I'm sorry, that's a typo right there. That should be the fourth bowl opening up. And so this is from NOAA. And what you'd have to see if it's going to take off, like the sixth seal predicts, you would have to have that eclipse on the bottom here. You'd have to have a total lunar eclipse, so a blood moon eclipse occurring in line with that sixth seal micronova. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So anyway, this is AI's version of a micronova. That's a big micronova. That would be more like the angel pouring the bowl on the sun. But it's interesting to look at the picture. And so Ben is saying at some point, Earth's weakening magnetic field will weaken so much that the planet will not be able to sustain even a moderate disruption in the solar wind. When that occurs, the grids will go down and there will be no more power as the sun continually ramps up toward the micronova and Earth's magnetic field continues to weaken. Cosmic radiation will bombard the planet more and more. At some point, the solar system will enter the point where the galactic magnetic reversal occurs. The sun will go dark for 3 days, followed by a solar micronova, and the planet will go like this. It will twist, and that polar shift will occur, and I'll be presently at the 45th parallel north. I'll end up at the 45th parallel south. Yeah, get ready for that. So basically, what's going to happen? You're going to see the poles shifting now. This is presently in 2025-ish, where we project the poles to go, but they're going to end up passing through the Bermuda Triangle and going south into basically South America. Okay, you can see that's the side of the pole meeting place. And then the other place would be very close to the Dragon's Triangle. Yes, both triangles will be involved with the magnetic pole shift. Very interesting. And once again, I would then end up going from North America looking at the stars to the location like in being South America looking at the stars. And it would be very interesting when that occurs. Some areas will be flooded, there will be sloshing, things like that. So there will be magnetic weakening, ionosphere disruption, extreme weather, volcanic surges, ocean shutdown. It'll be nasty. So that's going to be the sixth bowl. That's not going to be the sixth seal. It's not described that way. So this is Ben, and they call him a doomsday theorist. He's a catastrophist. And so, okay, so he's citing something from Revelation 2:24, but is really more 1 Enoch 65, 1 through 6. In those days, Noah saw that the earth had tilted and that its destruction was near. And he set off from there and went to the ends of the earth and cried out to his great-grandfather Enoch. And Noah said 3 times in a bitter voice, "Hear me, hear me, hear me." And he said to him, "Tell me, what is it that is being done on the earth?" And the earth is so afflicted and shaken, lest I be destroyed with it. So he made the ark and things like that. So for all have learnt the secrets of the angels and the wrongdoings of the Satans and all their secret power and all the power of those who practice magic arts, and that describes today too, and the power of enchantments and the power of those who cast molten images. So this is from Enoch, but it's very similar to Revelation 2:24. Very similar. Okay, so once again, when the poles start shifting, you're going to notice the slosh back and forth. So if you're sitting in New York or in LA, you're going to be flooded. If you're sitting in the Colorado mountains, you'll survive. I still believe in Corey Ten Boom's story that oh goodness, just in Missouri, southern Missouri there, that will be a safe zone. She's pointed it out almost 50 years ago now. And so she's telling us that mountain range down there that's really not that high, but it's in the center of the country, should be a safe zone in Missouri and a little bit of Arkansas. So very interesting. Keep in mind that there are 4.7 billion Asians over in this region where the pole is going to shift and it's going to flood horrifically in those regions. So I don't know how they're going to survive. So now let's contrast the sixth seal with the Revelation 6. So the sixth seal, I'm arguing, is a mohair micronova because it's in the text. Trichonos is the exact word for mohair. So in this case, it's going to be the sixth bowl. Seems to be the kill shot. Let's read it and see if you agree. The fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and it was permitted to burn people with fire. People were burned by intense heat, yet they cursed the name of God, who had the authority over these plagues, instead of turning from their sins to give him glory. Then the fifth one, we're getting close to the end, poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, wherever that happens to be, and his kingdom grew dark. People gnawed on their tongues from the pain, yet they cursed the God of heaven because of their pains and sores, and did not turn from their sinful deeds. So I'm arguing that is the kill shot. That's late in the process. That's the bowls. Revelation 16. I'm arguing that seems to be the big micronova. The first one is a mohair micronova. The second one, so chapter 6 is mohair. Chapter 16 is the kill shot. And you'll need to be prepared for that one. That's going to be horrific. Okay, so where are we in this timeline? What am I talking about? I'm the seals guy. So the white horseman is the first seal is west. It opens as Western civilization implodes or is overcome. That's Nikeo in the Greek. And I argue that occurred on 6667 as the Jews handed back the Temple Mount to people that disrespected the Temple Mount. And when God gives you a gift, you keep it. The red horseman is next. That's east. The second seal, that's east of Jerusalem. Peace is snatched, labien in the Greek, and that is lakak shalom in the Hebrew. First east of Jerusalem, then worldwide. The Bush family started this, I believe. It is not war, but rather peace being snatched from the world as a sign of a larger sword. It's a Makira sword in the Greek of the common man. So it's just common men fighting common men, okay? And that's 9/11/2001. I'm claiming that occurred. The Black Horseman, I'm claiming, is summer of 2012. I was part of that prophecy. The third seal opens north of Jerusalem as crop failures occur and globalists forced reduction of agricultural production. The globalists want to increase inflation and starve the common man out. The scales indicate judgment. The sign is avon, Hebrew, atekesis in the Greek, which means willful sin from the wealthy against the poor that can't afford wheat or barley for their everyday meals. The wealthy will crave another 300 million bunker or an expensive yacht, and then they'll hoard their olive oil, fine wines, and other delicacies, and the poor will starve because the poor will earn let's say they earn $100 per day. Well, they'll spend $100 for a loaf of bread. It'll be that bad. That's inflation. Okay. Then the next one would be the Green Horseman. I'm arguing it opened in 2020 and peak death by 2026. Should be south of Jerusalem as it opens, cited by the Deagle Report, Martin Armstrong, Charles Nenner. Other pundits are saying peak death is coming. And that particular seal is called Thanatos. That horseman is called Thanatos, which is death. So it brings 4 death plagues against the people, which is a Ramphea, large sharp sword, the word of God, technically in the Bible, but also according to the rabbis, it's invasions. Second is Limo, which is crop failures, agricultural issues, reduction of agricultural production, things like that. Thanatos is death. It's always death, 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 death. Therion, but it could be cancers. Therion is small animals down to the level of biological warfare. Continuing on, the fifth seal is persecution against the believers worldwide, which causes God to hasten his judgment against the wicked because there's so much persecution and death against the believers worldwide. We are experiencing the birth pangs of the sixth seal with the recent Aurora displays. That's my contention. Our sun is becoming more active as it enters solar maximum, and the Earth experiences a gradual thinning of its magnetosphere. The ESA, NASA have published 2010 and 2015 reports that our shields have reduced by about 25% and are reducing faster. Our shields are windows of heaven, vanishing like a small scroll, that Megillah, rolling up. Each impressive aurora brings us closer to a mohair, a trichonos, goat hair, fluffy, less severe occlusion of the sun, producing a micronova that will drive everyone underground for protection. All will acknowledge the one on the throne and the Lamb, but forget about them soon afterward. But it will cause such a magnetic disturbance that it will screw up their war plans for about 7-ish years. Okay, the sixth. So keep in mind the sign of the sun will be turning yellow to white to red to black as the moon eclipses red. Then the sixth seal micronova will delay World War III by about 7 years. Infrastructures will need to be rebuilt before leaders re-engage the large-scale warfare that leads to Gog Magog. So you'll have the sun's kill shot during the fourth bowl just prior to Gog Magog, and then Gog will need to employ horses after the kill shot. That's where we're at right now. So anyone, all of us, anyone in the path of storms and earthquakes, it's going to start happening more now. The sun is driving more energy, more protons into the earth. And so you're going to notice more storms, earthquakes, increasingly frightening weather. It'll be on the earth up to 7 years time frame, but mostly during solar maximum. And so the four horsemen seem to be riding. And so the storms should be much worse. And then secondary peak and solar storm likely. Geomagnetic storming of varying intensity will continue overnight. So basically, I'm going back out to watch it again because it could happen again. More storms, more activity. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish the slide, but basically, the current conditions are that we could have these X-ray solar flares arrive and the storm is over, but the weekend's geomagnetic storm, yes, is technically over, but there might be a last gasp. NOAA forecasters are currently predicting to return to a severe G4 conditions on May 12th, which is tonight, when one or more CMEs might hit the Earth's magnetic field. Of particular interest is the CME from yesterday's X5.8. So that was Friday night's X5.8, 5.9 class flare, a potential storm cloud that could spark renewed auroras if its internal magnetic field is oriented correctly. So we'll see what happens, but I want you to be able to see what space weather is saying, and that's both from space weather. And I didn't cut and paste it well, but I was working on an idea. Then Christian Widener, I've been talking to him recently, and so I want you to be aware that his theories are rather interesting. So I've been testing out the Essene calendar, which says 2025 is a Jubilee year. I've been testing out 2027, according to Christian Widener, and I've looked at it before. And so it seems as though we're getting close to that calendar. I'm telling you that based on what I'm seeing, 2025 makes more sense, but 2027 works too. And that could start our last 7 years, okay? And the flares help us to be able to predict those things. So I'm going back out to check out the weather again tonight, the space weather, okay? And so where are we? We're in the birth pangs. I explained to you where I think we are in the seals. Okay, probably the fourth seal, then martyrdom after that, then the seismos that occurs in the sixth seal. Then we would go into the tribulation, then we would go into the great tribulation. I contrasted the sixth seal and the fourth bowl. We'll see what you think of that. Hopefully you saw the logic in it. You are preparing for a wedding. You need to have clothing, you can't be naked, and you have to have clean clothing. So what garments will you wear? Will you show up naked and get cast out? Odds are Yeshua will return on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or Sukkot of some future year, possibly 2032. So be blessed. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And I'll be watching auroras again tonight. God bless. Bye.